What did Carson Beck say to Gunnar Stockton as the Bulldogs were winning the SEC championship in December? Dean Legge, Ryan Curley, Matt DeBerry. We're going to talk about this right now. It was a podcast that Carson was on that we caught some clips of. One thing, Matt, that he said about it was he said, I was trying to be there for him however I could be, but not trying to force anything. This is Carson Beck talking about what he was saying or not saying to Gunnar Stockton. He said, I'm not going to sit here and tell him to do this or that. I'm not gatekeeping. I'm not trying to press him into overthinking. This was his first real action in a game. I could only imagine how he feels because I know how he felt. Carson couldn't grab a ball. He could not, this is what he said as well. He said that several times. He could not grip a ball at the half. That's when he knew his time in the SEC championship was over and probably for the season was over. Did Carson play this right as it relates to how this is his interpretation of what he said to Gunnar. Did he play that right according to you?
I think so. And listen, I know that people love to kind of crap on Carson's leadership and his the way he went about his business the last year, but I'm not fully buying that. I'll buy that on clearance. I'm not buying that for full price because we saw Carson rally around the team and the team rally around Carson multiple times last year. Second half against Alabama, against the Vols when they got down early, the offense started to click and get going. And then against Georgia Tech, when the offense won them the game, I saw a lot of big leadership moments from Carson Beck. Now, what he did outside or off the gridiron, outside of the program, that's on him. And we know he obviously had a lot going on. He was a big deal kind of off the field in certain situations. But I'm not fully buying this whole Carson Beck was a bad leader and the team didn't rally around Carson Beck. I know they love Gunnar Stockton, and I know the locker room erupted at the half when they knew that Gunnar was coming in. But Carson could have just ended it right then and there. He didn't have to say, yeah, I can come in and hand it off for the game-winning touchdown. They could have had just Nate Frazier or Trevor Etienne take, the handoff. It was just one play, but he said, you know what? I can do it. I'm here. If you need me, I can't grip it. I can't throw it, but I can hand it off. I think he played it right. And I think his whole leadership qualities, I think get beat down, Ryan, just a little too much. Maybe I'm looking at a little much. I'm sure there's some aspects to it, but I did think he was a better leader than people are giving him credit for now that he's gone.
Yeah, I think like you referenced just moments throughout the last 2 years. The team, if the team really, really didn't like him, they wouldn't be going up and celebrating with him after he scores a rushing touchdown or something like that. You would see it in moments like that. Off the field's off the field, and maybe that caused some sort of rift eventually, but those are things we're not going to know exactly. In terms of this moment, it's a huge moment, and the team did a good job of rallying behind Gunnar, right? That wasn't just because they loved Gunnar and respect him. Part of it is because, hey, like this dude hasn't played legitimate snaps before. He's only played garbage time, and he's about to go in and they have a deficit against Texas in the SEC championship. Part of that is you have to make him Gunnar believes in himself, but you have to help show that you believe in him, even if you do that every day. So I think the team did a good job with that. But in terms of Carson, if you're Gunnar and you've got that pressure, you don't really necessarily want someone barking in your ear, do this, do that. That's just, for me, I know that would stress me out a little bit more if I'm prepared for the moment anyway. So I think in terms of this moment, I think that's a pretty good thing that he did, the way that he handled that situation. It's emotional for each of them, right? Carson is dealing with the fact that is probably going to be the last time he plays. It's in a game that is part of why he came back in 2024, right? He wanted to win that game. At least that's what he cites as one of the reasons. And if you're an athlete, that's heartbreaking that you don't get to finish that. And for Gunnar, it's emotional because it's, holy crap, I got to go do this now, and it's on my shoulders. So I think for that moment, he did a good job. But I think you're right, too, Matt. He gets crapped on a little bit too much. Some of it there's validity to, but it's really blown into a social media conversation more than anything, and it's gone, I would say, a little too far. But for this moment, I think it was good.
Yeah, I think that if you know what you're doing, then you don't need another person to over explain to you what you're doing. I mean, I think that if Gunner, Carson saw Gunner for 3 years. Is it 3 or 2 that they were together?
Three. Yeah.
Years. He saw him for years practice, do all these different things. Carson Beck knew what Gunner Stockton could do, and why would he get in the middle of like cheerleading? I mean, first of all, that's disingenuous. That's not the way Carson is. I mean, if you start acting different on a sideline, people are going to be like, "What's really going on right now?" So I think Carson, Carson was dealing with shock. Number one, that's a catastrophic situation that he was in. Gunner was not in a catastrophic situation. Gunner was in a different stressful situation, which was, how do I make this happen? He doesn't need the guy, in my opinion. He does not need the guy who just got hurt, going crazy on the sideline or being different than why he is or what he is. That's the thing about sports and being around everybody. You cannot, if you're trying to be a different way than you really are, it's disingenuous and it does not sell. And I think in the moment, sure, I do think that I will say this. I do think that Carson is trying to either, this is the wrong way to say it, but I do think Carson is trying to either justify the way that he acted. I don't think he has to justify it, or that he is trying to explain to people. That might be the better. It's in order so he doesn't see all this stupidity from people online. People are just going to hate Carson. It's what it is. People hated Cam Newton. People hated Johnny Manziel. Certain people will just become villains. I don't know, whatever. But I think, Matt, to me, that was a really bad moment in Carson's playing career. And I don't know. What is he supposed to say? I want to be out there. Go do it for me. What? Nothing. It was Gunner's time, just the same way that in 2023 and the bulk of 24, it was Carson's time. You never know when your time is coming, and you never know what's going to get taken away.
Yeah, I think looking back on it, he probably passed the torch in that moment as well as you possibly could. And I know he's an adult. I know he has a Lamborghini or 3 at the time. But dude, it was 22 years old. He's not a kid, but he's still a very young adult going through all this in the limelight as a college football quarterback. Not only that, but at the University of Georgia, where all eyes are on you. It is a big, big deal. And I think he was more mature at 22 than I was. And I think that his ability to still come in and hand the ball off when your season career is over. And he said, I can do it. I can get back out there. And he's not Shedeur Sanders flashing the Rolex against Fresno State or whoever it was. I mean, he wasn't like that. And I know he's gone now, so different, the way most Georgia fans do it, but he did it as well as he could, as far as knowing his time is ending, hearing your teammates and your team go nuts for the guy behind you. I mean, what else is the guy supposed to do? So I understand how he went about it, and I thought he did it the right way.
I mean, that moment sucks for Carson, right? I can't imagine that happening, right? They're cheering for your backup and everything like that. And part of you knows that that's what needs to happen, but you're, not getting replaced is not the right word, but you're essentially being replaced in that moment. And that's something that's difficult to deal with. And it's good on Carson to not take control of that moment and just be all over Gunner, right? But look, we saw him on the sideline. He was there for Gunner when he needed to be. It wasn't like he just shunned him and went and sat in the corner and was laughing or whatever, like people are talking about. He was there in those moments, and he was part of the huddle and shared what he needed to share. I don't know what else was said between them, but it's not like he just disappeared. He was there and he was a part of it. And obviously he was ready to go back onto the field. When you see him, they don't really hesitate to send him out there for that final play. So I think passing of the torch is good. It really did end up being that, since he was out for the season and then he ends up leaving for Miami. But it's not like Gunner was a true freshman that hadn't been in any moment like that before and hadn't been in any sort of, like, he played garbage time and he'd gotten out there. So it's not like he hadn't been on the field, and it's not like he doesn't go through the rigorous practice every day that's supposedly more difficult than the game. So he knew what Gunnar was capable of, and he went out there and he helped them win.
Yeah, I always want to mention this too. These guys, the biggest thing they have in common is they're playing quarterback at Georgia, but they're not necessarily. They don't have to be friends, like close friends. No, but like I mean, Carson's from Jacksonville. Gunner's from Rabun County. Like you are in the grand scheme of things, you're not going to get a lot different. I know Rabun a little bit. There's not a lot of Lamborghinis around up there, so these are different types of guys, and Gunner is reserved. They're both reserved. I will say that they, like if you are waiting for Gunner to get out there and scream and yell at guys, I mean, you're gonna be waiting there too. These everybody's not Joe Cox. What I mean by that is Joe Cox would get in your face. Joe Cox was 8-5 as a starting quarterback. Okay, and I love you, Joe, but you get my point. So it's what do you do in the moment that when your moment arrives, and it's not about doing cartwheels and rah-rah and all that. These guys all got to perform. But I thought it was a very interesting comment from Carson about that moment in time. Thanks for watching.